Good Friday evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top news stories, let's take a quick look outside that weather window. And today, a lot like yesterday, just a little bit warmer. We did see that low cloud deck once again today as we look at the beautiful town of Manson from our Manson Water Tower Sky-Fi camera. And thanks for that shot. What a great shot of Manson. And as I said, we did see some fog around north central Washington today and a low cloud deck, and that did keep our temperatures down. And what we're seeing now is pretty much what we're going to get over the next 3 or 4 days. We expect dry and stable weather throughout most of north central Washington. That's right through the weekend and possibly through the first part of next week. Low clouds and areas of fog will continue. Really no wind to scour out these clouds either. We'll see high temperatures at or above normal in some locations with lows in the mid to upper 20s. So watch out if you are traveling in the nighttime or early morning hours. There could be some icy spots on those roadways. And we'll have your complete weather forecast coming up a little bit later on. And now a few of the news stories we're following for you tonight. Plans for 2 new traffic roundabouts in East Wenatchee continue to move forward. You might say in a roundabout way. Wenatchee firefighters put out a fire Thursday morning at the same property. An arson-caused blaze was extinguished in September. And with the new year came a new federal rule that required all hospitals in the nation to publicly post the costs of all their services and materials. But first, we begin tonight. Mayor Steve Lacy is pleased with the outcome of the second round of bids for East Wenatchee's Gateway project. Wenatchee-based KRCI was awarded the contract after submitting the low bid on the project.
We had a low bid that was about $17,000 under the council's appropriation. That was close enough for the council to feel that they could appropriate that additional money, so they did on Tuesday night, and then accepted the low bid on that project. So we're moving toward construction on the Gateway project now, probably in a late winter, early spring, depending on how long it takes the contractor to gear up with materials and that kind of thing. But certainly now that project will come to fruition here in 2019, which makes the mayor very happy.
Lacy provided an update on the project at Thursday's Chelan-Douglas Transportation Council meeting. The Gateway project is being developed as a multi-use venue and visitor information center located at the foot of 9th Street and Valley Mall Parkway. Bidding was delayed due to higher than expected costs. Well, plans for 2 new roundabouts in East Wenatchee continue to move forward, you might say, in a roundabout way. But that's not sitting well with Mayor Steve Lacy. He voiced some frustrations about the project's slow progress at Thursday's Chelan-Douglas Transportation Council meeting. The city and the Department of Transportation have been working together for the past year on 2 roundabouts planned for the intersections of Highway 28 and 9th Street and at 9th Street and Valley Mall Parkway. But the plans were put on hold due to higher than expected costs as well as traffic issues with a 3rd roundabout now in use at the east side of the George Seller Bridge. The Department of Transportation is currently studying the traffic flows on 9th Street and Highway 28 and how it all integrates with the existing 5th Street roundabout. But Mayor Lacy says he's not sure where the project's headed.
Yeah, we've been waiting a long time for DOT to complete their studies and give us some idea of what they think is the proper configuration and approach to traffic movement down 9th Street and out onto the highway. It was complicated last year by the 5th Street project and some of the backups that occurred as a result, so we kind of had to go back to the drawing board on that issue. So now we're really not clear where we're looking at roundabouts or a couple lights in sequence. There's a funding issue with the Transportation Council that we talked about this morning. And so we still got a lot of planning to do, but I'm still hopeful that with some of the state money and federal money that we've actually had committed, that we can use it and complete that project sooner rather than later. But I suspect we're a few years away yet from the completion of whatever project now comes to fruition.
DOT officials reported at Thursday's meeting that the study should be completed later this spring with a final recommendation to follow soon afterwards. Wenatchee firefighters put out a fire Thursday morning at the same property. An arson-caused blaze was extinguished back in September. Chief Brian Brett with Chelan County Fire District 1 says the occupants of the home on Judkins Street woke up to the smell of smoke and immediately evacuated and called 911. With the help of Douglas County Fire District 2 crews, they were able to stuff it out before it caused any major damage. The cause of Thursday's fire has not been determined, but Brett said it appeared to be accidental in nature. It was back on September 13th that another occupant set fire to a debris pile, which then spread to an RV parked on the street. The fire continued into the yard and lightly damaged the home before firefighters stopped further growth. 41-year-old Ricardo Cervantes pleaded guilty in December to reckless burning and was sentenced to 60 days in jail. Well, with the new year came a new federal rule that required all hospitals in the nation to publicly post the cost of all their services and materials. For Wenatchee-based Confluence Health, that meant 3 different lengthy lists for the healthcare facilities it operates, including Central Washington Hospital, and another for its medication prices. NCWLIFE News Director Cal Fitzsimmons talked with Confluence Chief Financial Officer John Doyle about how they pulled their list together.
I'm with John Doyle, the Chief Financial Officer for Confluence Health. And as of January 1st, all hospitals in the country were required to list the prices for their services and goods. Everything from the cost of a single aspirin to a heart bypass surgery. John, what was that process like?
Well, I would say we spent most of the year just trying to understand Medicare's rule around this pricing transparency. The actual process of compiling the information and posting it on our internet was actually a pretty quick process. Again, when the rule first came out, guidance was gray. Hospitals had a lot of questions on what it should look like, where it needs to be at on your internet, what does need to be included and what doesn't. So that was really the lengthy process of trying to identify what exactly Medicare meant with this rule.
What did you learn by going through all of this?
Really, I think it's very, very difficult to translate this information to what a patient's ultimate out-of-pocket might be. Patient estimates and patients out-of-pockets, it's really a function of what services are provided, potentially a combination of services. You have supplies, you have drugs, you have facility fees, professional fees. It's also a function of insurance coverage. Medicaid, Medicare, obviously they have their own benefit design, they have their own co-pays and co-insurances, commercial plans, depending what you sign up for, deductibles, maximum out-of-pockets. So it's, again, very, very difficult to take this information and translate that into what a patient might ultimately have to pay out of pocket.
If someone goes to your site and sees the cost for something like a hip replacement surgery, is the price they see there going to be what they pay ultimately?
Absolutely not. That's our standard charge. Again, depending what insurance coverage they have, there are pre-negotiated rates with the health plans, commercial plans. Medicare and Medicaid pay us on their fee schedules, which are not negotiated. Those are set by the governments. So really, again, no relationship between our standard charges and ultimately what a patient might pay out of pocket.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anything else to add about this change?
No, I understand about the concern about transparency and pricing. Again, I don't think this comes close to getting us to where we need to be, but I hope it's a step in the right direction.
Coming up next, Leavenworth Mayor Sherry Farivar described the traffic during the Christmas Lighting Festival as manageable. And you can add 4th District Congressman Dan Newhouse's name to the list of House Republicans who back President Trump's call for immigration reform and a border wall. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
Dear Merry Maids, please clean the kitchen, and the cabinets, and floors, and the chairs. And I wish you could clean the dog. Colin is now feeding himself. Thanks, Megan.
Hi, Hi, Megan. No worries. We got it all cleaned up. Let's hope Colin gets past the spaghetti flinging stage soon. Till then, we've got you covered. See you next time. Merry Maids.
Hey everyone, so today I'm tackling Medical Assistant Ninja, trying to get that next level career. Man, this dead-end job is holding me back. Decision time, I'm going Charter College. Now I'm a medical assistant student. Rocking it? Yeah, earned the President's Award. Score! Took my career to the next level. Hey, I can level up to Medical Assistant Ninja, so can you. Get on it.
Arctic Refrigeration and Heating has been serving North Central Washington for 34 years. Arctic provides the finest heating and cooling air quality products for residential and commercial customers, along with prompt and professional customer service. Arctic also offers specialty services like custom sheet metal fabrication of ductwork, coil cleaning, as well as planned fall and spring maintenance for the overall well-being of your system. Arctic is available for emergency calls 24/7. Call Arctic Refrigeration and Heating for your heating and cooling needs.
Welcome back. In another news, Leavenworth Mayor Sherry Farivar described the traffic during the Christmas Lighting Festival as manageable. The mayor was at Thursday's Chelan-Douglas County Transportation Council meeting where she discussed the festival and its impacts on the popular Bavarian-themed town with NCWLIFE's Steve Hare.
This year, we hired a flagging company and twice, actually 3 times the number of sheriff's deputies to control the intersections and hopefully control the flow of traffic. I should also say that the snow train is no longer coming to Leavenworth. We're not supporting it anymore, and so they've decided not to come. So we had more buses and that kind of thing, but the expenditure of the city of about $90,000 for the flagging, for all 3 weekends of flagging and extra sheriff deputies, paid off. It's much safer. One of the reasons we did this is that public safety made it clear to us that when the roads are locked up, ambulances, fire trucks can't get to people. And so we did a whole very inclusive plan with the DOT, the State Patrol, the Chelan County Sheriff's deputies, our ambulance system, and the city of Leavenworth. And it went much better. I mean, it was still slow. There was slow traffic.
Well, I think that there is this notion, or at least a perception by some in your community that it's become out of control, that the traffic situation is unmanageable, but you would say that's not the case?
Well, I'd say we managed it. It wasn't perfect, and nobody's going to be able to get where they want to go in 5 minutes in Leavenworth on a Christmas lighting weekend. However, they were able to get there this year, and we heard anecdotally about last year that people were in one place for more than 2 hours. That didn't occur this year. And so we think we're onto something. We're going to continue this, and we're going to tweak it and improve it every year. And so I think for our locals especially, it's easier to get around during Christmas lighting.
Well, obviously the town has become quite an attraction in terms of tourism. And 2019 promises to be kind of an interesting year. You have another project, I guess, that's being proposed for an adventure park.
Right.
So traffic is going to be a big issue for you this year.
Traffic is going to be a big issue for Leavenworth forever. And part of the reason for that, I think people need to recognize, is that we are on Highway 2, which is a major east-west highway thoroughfare. And a lot of the traffic that comes through Leavenworth doesn't stop in Leavenworth.
It's pass-through.
It's a pass-through, yeah. They're getting from the west side of the mountains to the east side of the mountains, and that's the only way for them to go. So what we have to recognize is that although we need to make traffic a huge priority, we are now together with DOT doing a corridor study that will identify how much of that traffic is actually passed through and how to better regulate the Highway 2 traffic in a way that we have not been able to before.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah.
So what's the timeline for that?
That will be done this year, by the end of this year. In fact, it's ongoing right now. They're compiling the data, and then they'll start the analysis on those cameras that are on intersections. Count cars. There's a way for the DOT to count every vehicle that comes on that is traveling on a highway and where they're going, where they end up. And so fortunately for us, we'll be able to have some real data by the end of this year on which to base future decisions.
One thing you can't complain about is the sales tax generated by tourism up there.
You won't hear me complaining about that. It is what runs Leavenworth. That is our major operational funding. No question about it.
Well, good luck 2019 and Happy New Year to you,
Thank you,
Mayor
Steve.
Faribault.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
You can add 4th District Congressman Dan Newhouse's name to the list of House Republicans who back President Trump's call for immigration reforms and a border wall. Commenting on the ongoing government shutdown, Newhouse said he's hoping for a break in the budget standoff.
I think today it's up to House Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, to come forward with a reasonable compromise with the president and reopen the government. I think the onus is on them to do that. They need to not only get the government open, but also provide for increased security at our border. And I think if we can make a part of this negotiation possible, provide that certainty for DACA recipients, I think that would be a responsible thing to do as well.
Meanwhile, Newhouse's newly elected 8th District House colleague, Democrat Kim Schreier, says in a Facebook post, quote, "We need to hashtag end the shutdown for the orchardists who rely on farm subsidies, children and families who count on food stamps to make ends meet, and the rangers who keep our beautiful public places safe and pristine," unquote. The shutdown is poised to enter its 3rd week with no resolution in sight. You're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's feature story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCWLIFE Evening News. Stay with us.
Eastern Washington. It's a great place to call home and a great time to own a home. It's the ideal place to lay down roots for your family and your future. Gisa Credit Union thinks Eastern Washington is a great place to own a home, too. That's why we offer all kinds of home loans with personal attention every step of the way. We're your home. For home loans, we're Gisa Credit Union.
Thanks to the help I received at Goodwill,
I have a job. I'm working now. Thanks to Goodwill.
Thank you, Goodwill.
Thank you, Goodwill.
Thank you, Goodwill.
Thank you, Goodwill.
Goodwill's Employment Connection Center is a free walk-in job search assistance program designed to get you back to work. When you donate to or shop at Goodwill, you're really helping people find work.
Thank you. Goodwill, there's more behind the store.
Hi, Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. When you think of Alpine Air in Wenatchee, think of professional, friendly customer service for all your heating and cooling needs. Alpine Air partners with Carrier, manufacturers of some of the best heating and air conditioning equipment available today. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Visit our store in Wenatchee, meet our people, see our shop. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Evening News. In tonight's feature story, a classic Agatha Christie mystery is hitting the stage this weekend at the Riverside Playhouse. Director Matthew Pippin dropped by this morning's Wake Up Wenatchee Valley with Dan Kuntz to talk more about the production and a few new faces in lead roles that you might recognize.
There's some well-known names in the world of theater here, and also some people who you may not have heard of that are on stage. Specifically, a lot of John Schultz and a lot of David Harville. They'll be on stage a lot. They're basically the two main characters.
The two main characters, but like Megan Kapler that does, she plays Mayhew, which is traditionally played by a man. I also enjoyed switching the sexes and balancing them in my shows. And she's on stage the entire time in the second act. And the third act, really, but she doesn't say anything in the second act. You just get to watch her act and listen and react, and sometimes I just find myself watching her, because she's so good at just listening. But we have, Mr. Leonard Vole is accused of the murder of a lady friend of his, Miss Emily French, and goes to plead his case to Sir Wilfrid. And then you meet Leonard Voll's wife, Romaine, who seems to have another ulterior motive, and it moves from there to the courtroom, and then you don't know who's committing perjury, who's telling the truth. And what's really fabulous about this particular Agatha Christie mystery is there's 3 twists to it, not just one, and not just the whodunit, but 3 that gets you to the end of it. And I'm very proud of how hard everybody's working. I did Our Town a couple of years ago, and I was really inspired by the minimal set that we used. And so this stage only has rehearsal cubes and a couple of chairs on it. There's no elaborate set. If you saw the original specs, I don't know how they did it unless it was a revolving set. But I just wanted the actors vibrant, the costumes vibrant, and let the audience use their imagination in that beautiful little black box area.
It's a period piece. So what's the time when
1950s.
1950s. So is everybody going to be talking in a British accent? Or?
Yes, most of them.
Okay, you can pull it off.
Yeah, because I'm of the school of if you can't do it, don't do it. And one was a little shaky, but fortunately it works that her character could be American.
Okay.
And so I thought, why not just be American?
Time now for a check of your north central Washington weather forecast. And before we get to those details, let's take a look outside our weather window from this afternoon. And this is up in the Chelan Valley area, Manson, as we look down from the Manson Water Tower Sky-Fi Tower camera. And you can see we saw low clouds over the mountains all day long. Very calm water up in the Lake Chelan area this afternoon. Light winds with a low cloud deck is what we'll see for probably the next 3 or 4 days or so, which may or may not allow us to climb our temperatures to climb to near 40 over the next few days. We'll have to wait and see. Today we didn't get there. It wasn't that warm today either, but a little bit better than yesterday. 36 our afternoon high temperature today, and that's still above where we should be for this time of year, which is 33 degrees. We started off the day on a very mild note at 31, and that's above where we should be for our low at 24 degrees. Record high 53 degrees set back in 2014, and our record low 1 below zero in 1974. No new precipitation the past 24 hours. That keeps our precip year to date at 0.23, so just over 0.2 of an inch of moisture so far in January. Sunrise this morning was at 7:46, and it set this afternoon at 4:32. Now, as we take a look at our surface loop, let's go right to 10 o'clock tonight. We'll see some patchy freezing fog, and that will be our scenario over the next couple of days. So if you are traveling, things might get a little bit slick out there. We'll see light winds as well tonight at 10 o'clock. We're seeing what's called a Rex block, and that's when 2 areas of high pressure are to the east, and there's low pressures to the west, and this Rex block will not allow anything to move onshore, so most of this moisture will shear up the west side of the Oregon and Washington and keep us on the dry side. As we get into the weekend and Sunday, some fog. We'll see that each morning. Saturday, Sunday, partly cloudy skies. You can see a ridge of high pressure over the Pacific Northwest. That's a great look at a ridge right there. Clear skies all the way over into Montana. Monday, more fog in the morning with maybe partly cloudy skies by afternoon. And as we move into Tuesday, then we'll transition back to our precipitation map, because this area of low pressure will push this Rex block to the east, and that will allow it to move inland, and that will increase our chances for precipitation, especially as we move into Wednesday. 2 o'clock, a 20% chance for maybe a rain-snow mix as this continues to move up. But by Wednesday night and into Thursday, and folks, we're even talking Friday and Saturday of next week, this entire system will move in, and it will keep us awfully wet from midweek all the way into next weekend. So by all means, enjoy the next couple of days. Let's take a look now at your quick lube and tune forecast. Tonight, we'll drop down to 31 degrees. Tomorrow, we're hoping we get to 40. We'll see how this cloud deck, how it develops over the next 24 hours. Even a little bit warmer possibly for Sunday and 42 degrees. But remember, fog each morning, and we could see that freezing fog each evening. A little bit cooler as we get into Monday and Tuesday as that high pressure moves away from us, which will allow some colder air to move in from the northwest. 34 Monday, 34 Tuesday, and as we move into Wednesday, mostly cloudy. We'll see a 20% chance for rain showers and 36, and then our chances for precipitation go up as we move into the end of next week. 40% chance for rain and snow on Thursday. High temperature then at 37. And that's a look at your local weather forecast. Coming up next, tonight's sports report with Dan Kuntz and more as the NCWLIFE Evening News continues right after this.
Are you watching me? If you're watching me and you are a business owner in North Central Washington, your potential customers could be seeing your TV commercial right now. With Solion Broadcasting, TV advertising is effective and affordable. Place your ads on the network best suited to your potential customers or get top-of-mind awareness with 16 cable networks, including NCWLIFE, your local TV channel. Give Solion Broadcasting a call at 888-2020 today to see how easy and affordable it is to advertise on TV.
And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel.
And a happy Friday to you, everybody. Dan Kuntz filling in for Eric Grandstrom, who is on assignment, if you know what I mean. We'll start out our sports report by congratulating the Wenatchee High School girls bowling team, who clinched at least a tie for the Big Nine Championship yesterday with a 3-1 victory over Sunnyside. That victory, combined with Davis's 3-1 upset victory over Eisenhower, means that the worst the Panthers can finish is a tie for first place. Also last night in wrestling, as you see there, the Davis Pirates edged the Eastmont Wildcats 41-36. All in all, it's been a quiet week for prep sports for the most part. That changes tonight. A full slate of games. Here's the schedule. In girls basketball, the Eastmont Wildcats travel to Sunnyside to take on the Grizzlies, while the Wenatchee Panthers host the West Valley Rams. We'll have that game live right here on the NCWLIFE channel. Pre-game 5:30, tip-off at 5:45. Also, in girls basketball tonight, Kashmir is at Okanagan with a 5:45 tip. Cascade travels to Omak at 6. The Manson girls are at Soap Lake, and Waterville Mansfield is at Libertyville. Boys basketball tonight in the Big Nine. The Eastmont Wildcats are at Sunnyside. The Wenatchee Panthers hosting the West Valley Rams. The Panthers and the Rams are tied for first place in the Big Nine, and just like the girls' game, we'll have that contest live right here on this very television station about 20 minutes after the conclusion of the girls' game. Other boys basketball tonight. Kashmir is at Okanagan. That's a 7:15 tip. Cascade is at Omak. Manson travels to Soap Lake. And the Waterville Mansfield boys are in Winthrop to take on Libertyville. More high school basketball tomorrow as the Wenatchee Panther girls taking on the always tough Moses Lake Chiefs at 5:45. While in CTL action, Kashmir is at Chelan, and the Waterville Mansfield girls play host to Soap Lake at 6 o'clock. Same schedule lines up for boys basketball tomorrow, just a couple of hours later. The Wenatchee boys at Moses Lake, Kashmir at Chelan, and Soap Lake is at Waterville Mansfield. In wrestling on Saturday, the Wenatchee Panthers and 15 other teams will be participating in the Marysville Pilchuck Invitational, and the Eastmont Wildcats are heading south to Ellensburg for a full day of wrestling. The largest swim meet of the year outside of the state championships is the Kentridge Invitational. It's going to be at the King County Aquatics Center in Federal Way. The Wenatchee Panthers and the Eastmont Wildcats are just two of the 43 teams participating all day on Saturday. The Wenatchee Wild back home this weekend for a couple of games tonight and tomorrow. The Alberni Valley Bulldogs are in town. It's Boy Scout night tonight. And it'll be followed by Saturday's contest at the Town Toyota Center with the Victoria Clippers on Ladies' Night. At the rink, they'll drop the puck at 7:05 on both nights. Here's our weekend of local sports coverage. It begins, of course, tonight, as I mentioned before, at Wenatchee High School as the Panthers host the West Valley Rams live right here on the NCWLIFE channel. Grant Olson will be courtside. Pregame starts at 5:30. On Saturday, you can tune in at 2 o'clock to watch the Wenatchee girls take on Ferris in basketball. And then at 7 tomorrow, we'll televise the Moses Lake and Eastmont wrestling match from back on December 11th. It's wall-to-wall basketball on Sunday starting at 2 with the Davis and Wenatchee girls and boys doubleheader. It'll be followed at 7 with our rebroadcast of the Moses Lake and Eastmont doubleheader from December 15th. And finally in sports, that behind me that you see there is the logo of the new Wenatchee Valley Skyhawks. Skyhawks will be playing indoor football come March at the Town Toyota Center. They'll be members of the American West Football Conference. The other franchises are located in the Tri-Cities, Boise, Sacramento, and Reno. The Skyhawks will play at least 6 games, we're told, at the Town Toyota Center. Theo Hall is the owner of the franchise. Keith Evans will serve as head coach and general manager. Of course, the previous indoor football team, the Wenatchee Valley Venom, folded in 2011 after 2 seasons. And those are just some of the games that people are playing on this Friday. Grant, back to you.
And have a great weekend, everyone.